I'm going to be starting with a personal moment that I had when I was quitting smoking back in August 2025. I was initiating divorce with my ex-wife because life was just not bearable back then. The relationship was too heavy. And I had a friend who was mediating to make things right. When I got convinced that getting back together was a good idea, I asked him for a cigarette. He refused, and I didn't insist, and that's how it went. If I would have taken this cigarette back then, it would have meant that I chose escape over facing reality still. This is not nicotine addiction. This is pain avoidance. This is reality avoidance. And I'm so glad that it didn't happen to me. But unfortunately, for a lot of smokers, this is exactly the case. Some pain, some circumstances come in the way and just gets you back to smoking again. So in this video, we're diving deeper into this phenomenon, why we smoke to cover our pain, and why the cigarette that you crave during this pain is not actually a cigarette. It's something deeper going on. And in case this is your first time here in this channel, my name is Henry. I make content about quitting smoking and becoming the king version of yourself, the one who you aspire to be, who you always dreamt about becoming. And if you find this content helpful, subscribe to the channel, like the video, because honestly, I decided to quit the channel before, but the people who are commenting about their days, and I am seeing that this disease is losing its power over us. And so I want to see more of that. To write in the comments how many days you have been cigarette-free, vape-free, nicotine-free. These toxins need to be getting out of our bodies and out of our societies. And this small community, this small corner on YouTube, that is uniting against this huge machine. I want this channel to become a beacon to what's possible when you actually subtract this horrible habit out of your life. Let's get right into this video. Let's start with facts. Smoking cigarettes is not a habit. It's just pain regulation disguised as a habit. Here's what I mean by that. If you try to quit, or you're considering quitting, or you're already off cigarettes but struggling to hold the line, I want you to observe that a lot of people, when they talk about cigarettes, they say they like it, like in general, right? There is no specificity on what they like about it or how it makes them feel. And in many cases, including in my case, because I smoked for 12 years, they don't know what else to do with the emotional charge that comes from life in general. Like something happens at work, something happens in a relationship, you being lonely or something like that. Like when stress hits, for example, you smoke. When shame hits, you smoke. When heartbreak hits, you smoke. When fatigue hits, you smoke. When failure hits, you smoke. And so here, cigarettes become a regulator for your current emotional discharge. And honestly, what it does is that when you do more of it, you just kind of pause the pain or pause what's going on with you. And so in this state, when you smoke, what happens is that you just... because of the dopamine burst that explodes in the brain, what happens is that you feel relaxed and you feel that you don't need to take action right now. There is no urgency. And therefore, you delay the confrontation and you delay what you have to face. And in particular, you delay the moment where you have to face yourself and your actions and the consequences of your actions. Because let me take you to the moment where I was discussing my divorce with my friend. I didn't ask for a cigarette because I craved cigarettes out of sudden, because usually in relationships, things are heavy, right? Especially when we talk about divorce and we've been together for like a few years or so. And this topic naturally is heavy. And because I was like wanting to end the relationship because it's causing me so much pain, but my friend mediated and kind of succeeded to delay the divorce thing, I felt the heaviness of the consequences of us getting back together. Because I wanted to stop feeling the weight of what was happening for just few moments. That's what was the cigarette about. It's not that I wanted nicotine at all. And that's why you need to be extremely aware when you are close to a relapse moment, because relapses don't happen at easy times when you are bored, when you are relaxed. They happen when your new identity, the new you are trying to become, when it is being tested, that's when you are actually the closest to relapse. But at the same time, for example, let's say something happened. You lost someone, you ended a relationship, you went into financial trouble, so this sort of stuff. And you smoked a cigarette after holding the line for like, let's say a few months, right? Then your body learned that whenever there is pain, I need a relief. And so because you feel the defeat, that you lost to a cigarette, then you learn that releasing pain requires surrender, because you surrender to the cigarette practically when you relapsed here, right? And so you're kind of telling your body that I cannot handle this cleanly. I cannot just handle it normally. I need a substance, because I need damage of somehow to survive this discomfort, this thing that I am feeling right now. And over time, when it happens again and again and again, it becomes an identity. It becomes a belief about yourself. This is just who I am. I just handle life like this. I cannot deal with life without it. I always come back to it. Now here, I want to take you to the moment where I was talking with my friend. And let's say that he actually handed me a cigarette. What do you think would have happened then? First, this channel wouldn't have existed, because I would feel the defeat. I would have surrendered. I would have stayed stuck in the relationship that I didn't want. I would have stayed stuck in the financial situation that I was on. And I could have quit running. I could have quit losing weight. I could have quit improving my financial situation. And the current me right now, the current identity I built over the time is unshakable with this bullshit. Like there is no way you can convince me to avoid pain or half do shit. You know, I am like way more on point than before. But if I would have accepted the cigarette back then and I actually smoked it, it would have enforced the old identity that I strived my whole life so hard to quit. And honestly, I would have stayed in the marriage longer. And here's the thing, there's no magic powers in the cigarette in itself, but it's just the psychological effect of deciding to smoke. That's the real issue here. But honestly, after fucking up so much in life and learning the hard way some stuff, you naturally, when you face yourself, when you sit in this moment and say, you know, I actually was doing a disservice for myself. I was treating myself so badly. That you would feel shame then, right? Because I'm not talking about smoking here. I'm talking about the thing that you think about when you quit smoking. That's the really true hard part. Not quitting smoking in itself. It's actually easy and doable. But what comes after it is the hardcore shit, the shame. Because shame makes you want to hide, makes you want to just go with the flow. It gets you defensive. It makes you want to smoke again, because it is easier than to listen to the voices. But shame here is not always useless. It's not just a negative feeling that you have to avoid. I relapsed like 10 times publicly in front of my friends when I was quitting smoking for like one full month. Fully aware and fully and I even feel the same thing about binge eating right now. Now I am on progress. I'm actively losing weight right now. I changed some stuff. I might talk about it if you find it interesting. Yeah, I can talk about it in a separate video, but for the purposes of this video, I can tell you this, like failing publicly and repeating that again and again, you kind of do it the first time, you feel embarrassed, you feel you want to hide and, because you didn't do it perfectly, right? But then you do it again, and you feel less embarrassed about what you've done or what you've faced. And then you do it again, and then again, and then again. So it hurts, but it's showing that your system is reacting to something, right? What are you embarrassed about? You're afraid of being seen that you're actually struggling to quit smoking? Okay, then I'm struggling to quit smoking, so be it. It's not an easy task, because it forces an identity shift. It forces a confrontation with yourself that you've been trying to avoid for so long. It is embarrassing and it is hard. But shame here, when you feel it the most, it kind of shows you that there is something here that you are trying to hide. What is this thing? And in this exact moment, you decide whether you get back to smoking or say, this shit is not acceptable anymore. So shame here can either turn into self-destruction or motion. The decision is in your hand. But deciding whether to smoke or not is not as easy as it is said, right? Who lived through it knows exactly what I'm talking about. So the practical thing that there is no universal blueprint for how you can stay off cigarettes, right? But for me, what worked for me was I was venting in ChatGPT, okay, and sometimes talking with friends about it, but generally speaking, you can have a small template that goes like this. I'm actually ashamed of saying this, but this is what happened. Like you can call a friend or do it on ChatGPT and write it, text it, or like face-to-face say it to a friend, I'm actually ashamed to say this, but this is what actually happened. And you might think this is cringe or kind of like emotional venting, like unnecessary negative emotions. But I want you to be honest with yourself. If your close friend or someone you love or someone you admire comes to you and says, I'm actually ashamed of saying this, but I feel pathetic because this thing happened with me, or this event happened. Would you tell them, oh, you are pathetic little bitch? Of course you won't. You would be understanding, you would be welcoming and providing solutions if you can, provide emotional support if you can. That's human nature. And you would actually respect them more for doing so, right? So don't assume that people will hate on you just for saying your truth or you're being expressive and vulnerable about some stuff. And that's how you can actually become one step closer to not only quitting smoking, but changing the life and changing the identity that requires to smoke. I'm not promising you that quitting smoking will instantly make your life better. Okay, it does make your body better. It makes you feel better about yourself. That's true. But at the same time, it's not that glamorous. It's boring because it's subtractive value. It's not, there is no evidence to be seen where you actually improve in your life. But I can confidently tell you this. There is nobody I know that said, I regret quitting smoking. It ruined my life. I should have stayed a smoker. No, nobody said that. Because honestly here, most of the time, like in my case, quitting smoking is not the scary thing. The scary thing is that you are going to be facing what you have been trying to avoid with cigarettes, with vaping, with nicotine. And you can try what I just told you. You can write in the comments as well. You can say, I am ashamed of admitting this, but then mention the reason why you are actually smoking. Say what happened. Say why you smoke, what you are actually trying to escape. And I reply all the time. Okay? Because the channel is not about quitting cigarettes. It is about building the part of you that still wants to stand up after getting broken, embarrassed, rejected, played, and defeated. Smoking taught you learned helplessness, and honesty is where you start unlearning it. And if you want to kickstart your journey quitting smoking, you can download my free PDF available in the description below. It contains my lived experience when I was quitting recently back then. So you're getting the freshest perspective possible about quitting smoking. So download it. And when you finish, you get started to quit smoking for real. Comment which day you are starting at, and you will get all the support that you need on this channel. That's it for me in this video. Stay safe and take care.